I'm about to tell you a story. It has a beginning, a middle, and an end. Fact or fiction, doesn't matter. It's all how I tell it. We play at pt.2.
I'm Diego Cordovez.
Adam Schoenfeld.
Welcome to The Scoop.
I have an important announcement to make before we go further.
Yeah.
For those about to rock, we salute you. Carry on.
Welcome to The Scoop, brought to you by Full Tilt Poker. We had Jennifer Harman on last week, and it was fascinating to hear about the big games and about all her experiences in poker. So she's back for part 2, and if you missed part 1, it is on Card Player TV. But I think what you say is interesting because just about moving up the levels in the sense that part of being a really good player and part of what separates players who are successful for a long time at the higher limits is not just strategy, but always playing your A game and not going out tilt and knowing when to play and who to play and what games you want in the mix. You know, all these other aspects of kind of managing the games. But you know, what you're saying is that beyond that, there just are skills that you have to acquire or ways of playing that are not obvious that at each level you have to start incorporating into your arsenal.
I think so. I think, you know, at the higher levels, there's definitely a lot more skill. There's, sometimes in certain games you could just throw the cards out the window and basically, play the whole psychological game, because that's basically what it is.
Psychological game meaning that
you're playing their heads, because, everybody's basically playing the same as far as the cards. You just have to know when to lay down hands, when to raise, when you can think you can get them off a hand. It's a tougher thing, and I also believe to be competitive and successful at that limit, you have to have an ego, but not too big of an ego, because you have to be able to be objective about your play. It's so important, because...
Objective in terms of how you're playing that day, or just whether that's a lineup that you can beat?
No, objective of how you're playing that day, or how you're playing another day. Sometimes, if you're not playing well, you just have to get up and quit. And you have to be objective enough to know that. To say, okay, it's not my day, I just quit. And go home, however loser you are, and deal with it the next day.
Is that the biggest, or one of the bigger weaknesses you see in some players who might have all the technical skills, but they won't allow themselves to go home loser, and as a result, they end up losing a lot more?
Yes, that's very common.
I mean, sometimes, and I say this just from looking from the outside, but sometimes you look into the games in Bobby's room and there's one or two obvious super wealthy guys who are going to be, anyone would like to play against them. But other times it's obviously a very tough lineup, tough players. So I imagine what you're saying is that someone's not on their game for whatever reason that day.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, you'd be surprised how good that game can get when you look in there and it looks like all tough players and the game's just amazing.
But is it just tilt because someone is in the hole, or is it because maybe they're just distracted by something else, or just not playing their best game because of some external factors?
It's possible they're not playing their best game just from external factors or because of what happened in the game, or for some reason they're just, deciding to go on a death wish and lose all their money.
That's the best.
That happens. It definitely happens. I remember one guy came into the game, and I'm not going to say the name, but most people wouldn't know him anyway. Completely drunk. And so drunk that the supervisors wouldn't even get money for him out from the cage.
So you had to give them.
Well,
You had to
borrowed,
loan the money,
he
right?
borrowed. But no, I wasn't one of them because I told him to go home.
Right.
And he said, no, because I want to go completely broke.
Right.
So what do you do for that? Well, okay, I guess you just
someone's
sit there and-
gonna
him.
take it.
You accommodate him. Right.
Someone's going to take it. You're a nice person. Might as well be you.
So, you get that kind of stuff happening too. That, people have to figure out how to deal with the stress of poker maybe, and decide like.
Or life.
Yeah.
That seems like, just watching you again from the outside, you seem to me to have you're not emotional at the table. Like, you always seem even keeled. I've seen you, like, you don't like when someone give a speech to you, but like, I don't see you flipping out or anything.
I flip out once in a while.
Really?
Yeah.
Is that in cash and tournaments or both?
Both.
See, I see you, and I only have experience like from tournaments, it's pretty limited, but I see you flipping out if someone like misbehaves,
Right.
or if someone is just rude or smelly or whatever. But I don't see you.
No, I don't. I
don't
don't
see
touch
you-
the smelly
right.
part.
I don't see you flip out in terms of, I lost 3 or 4 pots in a row. Or
No, I flip out.
Really?
You do, huh?
Yeah,
All right.
like in the Omaha
That's good to
Hater Better
know.
when I got 3 gut shots in the tournament. I got 3 gut shots put on me, 3 hands in a row, and then a bad beat, and I was out. And
What's your definition
But
of
it
flipping out?
affected your play? See-
throwing my bottle of water against the wall.
Really?
Right. No,
Oh, that
I've
would've been
seen,
awesome.
I've seen and heard that. But see, I guess maybe I'm drawing a distinction in the sense that it's one thing to flip out, throw your bottle at the wall or at somebody's head. It's another thing to flip out
somebody's head.
in the sense of affecting your play, and maybe that's the distinction I'm drawing. And maybe
I try
maybe you
not to
flip
let
out
it.
of that too.
I
don't
try
see you
not to
flip
let it.
out
I
that
don't.
way.
I learned a long time ago not to take, my emotions out on my money, because who's
Right.
who's the only one that's gonna lose?
Right.
Me.
Yeah.
So I try really hard not to do that. But
That's
I
maybe
have a
what I'll
temper, and
say.
everybody in Bobby's room at one point or another is really scared of me. And I'm like only 100
See.
pounds and 5'2".
But they're scared.
Well, I'm scared of you.
Right. But the thing is that there's no win in them. I mean, if you're mad at them, they just have to take it. I mean, if they retaliate,
What are they going to fight her outside?
right? What are they going to do?
I only asked one guy at one
Beat
time
you.
to go outside.
Was
Right.
it Marco?
No, it wasn't Marco. And he didn't say yes, so I guess I'm happy about it.
I saw.
So there's no win for him in that.
I've talked about this before. I saw from a distance, but not too far of a distance, Jen playing Andy Beal heads up, and when I was watching, you literally had 25,000 chips stacked so high you could barely see over it. It was like just your eyes, and Andy had like a nub.
Right.
What are
6'2".
Yeah, what are your
Stand
memories of that? Were you nervous in that situation? Obviously, it was consortium money, but you seemed super cool to me.
The very first time I played him, where we played a $1 million freeze out, I was nervous because I could not win a pot on limit hold'em to save my life. And then they give me a phone call at home and said, "Well, Andy wants to play. You need to be down here in 20 minutes." And I'm telling them, I can't win a pot, and they're saying, "We don't care. You're going to beat him. Get down here and play him." And this is right after Marco, that I'd been married for like 4 months, had just beat me playing $1 million freeze out with play money at home,
Right.
who had played limit hold'em once in his life.
Right.
So I
So your
went in there like
confidence
having
was
like
sky high.
a ton of confidence, and I remember talking to I think Ted Forrest on the phone on the way down there and saying, you need to build me up here because
Right.
I don't have any confidence at limit hold'em. And he said, "Don't worry, you're gonna win. Just play your best, da 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 da," or whatever. And I just sat down and played my heart out. I just played with so much focus that when I finally beat him, I couldn't even I couldn't even celebrate. I had to go home and go to bed.
was worn
That's
out.
how
That's
exhausted
exhausting,
I
worn
was.
out.
But it was fun, and I guess maybe the first 10 minutes you sit down and play 'em because the limits are so big that you have all these butterflies in your stomach. But after a while, you're just it's just another poker game.
When I saw Jen, this must not have been the first time, I think she had about 4.5 million that she could barely see over, and Andy Beal had
possible.
about 500,000, and I was like, that's the greatest thing I've ever seen in my life.
I was really freaked out one time because that's when Bellagio had the $100,000 chips. So I
Wow.
rack it up and I have 10 million in a rack, and I'm carrying it to the box just 10
Right.
million. Like how many houses is
You
that?
don't
Like
wanna-
in the palm of my hand.
You don't
It
want
was
to drop it
so
after people
real.
put their foot over a chip or something and be scrambling around. You don't want to drop it and
Exactly.
you know how it is.
Exactly.
Try
And
and scoop it back
and
up.
a funny
That's
thing,
what
another
you-
thing about that, when they had the $100,000 chips, Chip Reese had 2 of them in his coat pocket, and his housekeeper sent him off to the dry cleaning.
Yeah, I remember reading about that.
But anyway, they called in all the $100,000 chips, and they were short too, so they paid
They
Chip
knew
his
it-
They knew what it was.
$200,000.
Well, that's the thing we realized earlier in the interview too, is right, even if you drop the rack, it's not going to do anyone any good to just put
Yeah,
their
'cause you
shoe
can't go
over
cash
them
it.
and then go
Yeah,
to the cage
can't
and
cash that in.
go to the cage from the 5-10 game or something and say, "Oh, and this 100,000
Right, I mean,
also."
Phil Ivey's not going to put his foot over the chip, and no one else could cash it.
Exactly.
Right.
But in our game, people are really, really careless. You know, people are dropping chips on the floor all the time. Money falls out of their pocket. It's like it's laying on the floor. I remember we were playing with Barry Greenstein, and there were two $25,000 chips on the rail going down on the ballage on the top section on the floor, and Freddie Deeb happened to pick them up.
Right.
And he walked over and said, "Who lost the 50,000?" And Barry's like this. "Oh, it's mine."
Hey, me.
Yeah, I lost $1,000 chip once, which I went back and retrieved. It was sitting on the table, and like I almost killed myself, and that's $1,000.
Well, I was, I was at the cage getting ready to go to my box, and I had a tissue in one hand and 5,000 in my other hand, and Marco walked up, and I threw the tissue away. And Marco said, "What was that?" I said, "What do you mean, what was that?" He goes, "What'd you just throw away?" I said, "My tissue." And he said, "No, that didn't sound like a tissue," and he went in the garbage, and my $5,000 chip was sitting in the garbage.
It's trouble.
So it was like really good timing that Marco walked up right behind me and has really good hearing.
Well, it also might have been caused by Marco, because he's a good-looking guy, and you might have been nervous. I don't know if you're already married at this point.
No, we were married. We were married after like 3 weeks, so.
So, Jennifer Harman, like a few exclusive guests, cannot be contained even in 2 episodes, but she's merited by playing in the big games. She hasn't just won a random document and experienced a hot run, or she's been on a hot run for 20 years.
Right.
So we're going to have Jennifer Harman on for part 3 next week, and thanks for joining us on The Scoop, brought to you by Full Tilt Poker. Write to us at thescoop at carplayer.com.
Full tilt!
I've seen just about everything. Seen queens overthrow kings, and straights flushed away. I felt the sweat after every re-raise, and nearly buckled after bad beats. Seen rags lead to riches, and witnessed countless miracles on the river. So if you want to play, take a seat and show me something I haven't seen. We play at fulltiltpoker.com.